Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me give you a weekly update on the military conflict and Russian aggression against Ukraine between May 8th and 14th. The situation at the front line did not change much compared to the previous week. Russian proxies continued indirect fire attacks of Ukrainian positions and provocative ceasefire violations using small arms all across the contact line. The sniper activity decreased, 9 cases last week compared to 14 the week before. At the same time, Ukrainian armed forces recorded 5 instances when the enemy used multiple launch rocket systems, whereas a week earlier the militants used rocket artillery only once. Svetlodarsk, Avdiivka, and the southern part of the Mariupol sector came under consistent enemy fire last week. Overall, the number of ceasefire violations ranged between 37 on Wednesday, May 10th, and 70 the day earlier, Tuesday, May 9th. On May 9th, Russian occupation administration in Donbass organized Victory Day celebrations. Russian proxies, in violation of the Minsk agreements, staged a military parade with heavy weapons in the cities closely located to the front line. Although it had been announced that the commanders of the so-called regiments and so-called brigades would lead ceremonial formations, the Ukrainian military intelligence identified that the formations were led by deputy commanders. It was done in order to conceal the presence of sniper troops in Donbass, of Russian troops in Donbass, and the real commanders of the so-called regiments and so-called brigades are Russian regulars. Now to the overall situation in each of the sectors. Luhansk. The situation in Luhansk sector was rather intense throughout the week, as Russia-backed militants continued to open artillery and mortar fire at positions of Ukrainian troops. Stanitsa Luhanska, Krymske, the area of Popasna, and Troitske regularly came under enemy fire both during the daytime and at night. On March 8th, Russian proxies opened fire with 122mm artillery. This happened at Novozvanivka during the nighttime. Later in the morning, invaders launched a mortar barrage at Krymske, having discharged nearly 50 rounds. On May 13th, Novozvanivka came under fire again. At 5 p.m., Russian-equipped militants opened a medium-intensity mortar fire followed by 122mm artillery. The daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy ranged between 6 and 13. Donetsk sector. The situation in the sector of the week was the most intense compared to 2 other sectors. Pro-Russian militants launched up to 10 mortar attacks per day along the whole front line. On May 13th, Russia-backed militants fired Grad rockets at Novoluhansk. The number of rounds discharged at positions of Ukrainian defenders exceeded 200. Enemy sniper groups advanced to the front line and engaged Ukrainian service members near Luhansk and Verkhnyotoretsk. That same day, Russia-backed militants committed another war crime against civilian population. At about 7 p.m., Russian proxies opened fire with 122mm artillery. This happened in Avdiivka residential area. One of the shells hit a private house and killed 4 civilians, 3 female and a male, and severely wounded another male person. As a result of the incident, 2 children lost their parents. On May 14th, the militants opened fire at Zaitseve and Verkhnyotoretsk. They also opened tank fire in Avdiivka and adjacent areas. The daily number of ceasefire violations by the enemy ranged between 12 and 22. Now, Mariupol sector. The enemy continued to engage Ukrainian armed forces in Mariinka and Volnovakha districts, as well as its southern coastal defense lines. Pro-Russian proxies continue to open small and medium-intensity mortar fire, occasionally using artillery rocket launchers. On May 8th, the enemy used 122 mm artillery against Ghnutovo. On May 10th, militants used portable rocket launcher Grad-P at Shirokine 4 times. On May 11th and 12th, snipers engaged Ukrainian service members at Pavlopil, Shirokine area, and Novotroitske. The daily number of ceasefire violations in the sector ranged between 19 and 35. The intensity of UAVs use by the militants remained almost the same. 16 episodes of hostile drones flights during last week compared to 17 the week before. The enemy continued conducting aerial reconnaissance mostly in the Donetsk sector. Ukraine's military intelligence reports of the ongoing military assistance of Moscow to its proxies. Last week, 28 railway fuel tanks, 10 railway cars, and 3 trucks illegally crossed the border with Ukraine and delivered approximately 1,700 tons of fuel, more than 32 tons of tank engine oil, ammunition, and food supplies for the militants. As per intelligence reports, the total number of confirmed casualties amongst the Russian proxies last week amounts to 7 killed and 29 wounded. Last week, 4 Ukrainian servicemen were killed in action. 33 soldiers were wounded in action. Additionally, on May 9th, at the hospital in the city of Dnipro, 1 Ukrainian service member died from wounds received from enemy sniper fire on April 30th in the southern part of Mariupol sector. Our hearts go out to the families and friends of the fallen Ukrainian heroes. Militants' actions bring suffering to more and more residents along the front line. As was previously mentioned, on May 13th, 4 civilians were killed and 1 was critically wounded by the enemy shelling of residential district of Avdiivka, Donetsk sector. In addition to the barbaric act of aggression, a local woman was wounded as a result of another enemy shelling in Chermalik, Mariupol sector. 5 private homes were damaged in the conflict area last week. All of them are located in frontline towns and villages, Novorodske and Avdiivka, Donetsk sector, Mariinka and Chermalik, Mariupol sector. Also, last week, militants shelled a non-residential building in Stanitsa Luhanska, Luhansk sector, and an agricultural enterprise in Novoluhanske, Donetsk sector. That will be all for today. Thank you very much.